Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a quicker video for you because I have two kits that I'm going to put up on Ko-fi this afternoon. And the reason that I have two is I started with this one, which is completely steampunk books, basically the same kind of kit that you would normally have. There are no background pages in this one because of the other kit. So let's start with this one and then I'll move to the other one. Let's try not to make a craft-a-lunch on my desk. So it's all the pages have a blank on one side, an image on the other. So if you fold them in half, you can put them like this and write on this side. You could write up here. So that's kind of my thinking on that. So bookshelves, and very much steampunk influenced. If you've been here around here for a minute, you know that I very much like the steampunk aesthetic, that slightly industrial, that kind of feel. So I've got bookshelves and then cozy little reading corners, you know, comfy desk. We're going into fall, books, cozy sweaters, reading. I read all year round, but I know some people read more in the winter than they do in the summer because they're not outside. So that was where my thinking went or started, and then I'll show you where it wound up because it's not here. But I just love these, like the rooms, the cozy, like that feel, the bookshelves with the like test tubey kind of things, top hats. They to me, they're so much fun. So there are 10 of these pages. At some point in time, probably next week, I'm going to put out a freebie kit, and the freebie kit will have some backgrounds that you can use with this one or with the other kit that I will show you in a minute. And I alternated which side the images are on. So if you do like a page and fold it in half like so, and then fold this one in half like so, if you put them in a journal, you can wind up with the two images side by side or the two plain pages side by side. Another one, and another one, and another one. There's 10 of these pages. No backgrounds, like I said, no plain pages without the image on them. And then I thought, because reading, it would be nice to have some library cards instead of tags. And then do this one next. You need a place to put your library cards. So these are a library pocket, and I'll show you how they work. I had to cut one out to test drive and make sure that it would actually work the way that I was thinking. So this is basically what it would be. I actually flipped it over because it turned out upside down and I didn't want it upside down. And I also made it a little bit longer so that this side of the library pocket is actually a bit taller. So what you would do is you would fold over this side and glue it down and then notch this edge because this is going to be your pocket. Then you'll lie it over top of your back and fold it over like so. And now you have a little library pocket. You will notice that's white. So what I did is put in a blank background page so that you can print the background on the opposite side of this, so that you would print it your library pocket here, and then this would be the back side, so that when you cut it out and fold it over, when you fold that up like so, you've got something on this side. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. And then some fussy cuts so that you can, I did most of my elements, like the pockets, with nothing on them, and then gave you fussy cuts so that you can put fussy cuts on pockets, on there's something else in here that I will show you where you could put these. Little book stacks. I made some whale tail tabs, and I put them in little corners where I had spare space. You will notice on the library pockets, I put a couple of little things that you could use as labels on the library pockets or elsewhere if you wanted to. And more of these rooms and cozy reading chairs. More reading chairs. I just like so much love these. Book stacks, steampunk book stack, because you need a steampunk book stack. And then bookmarks. These are on copy paper, but you could print these on a heavier weight closer to a cardstock, or you could print it on regular copy paper and then glue it to cardstock to make it a bit heavier, because we all need bookmarks when we read, so that we don't put our sock, cat's tail, whatever is at hand, you know, the Cheerio from our breakfast. If you're like I am, anything can wind up in a book as a bookmark. Oh, this is going to go in my freebies. Ignore that. That was in the stack of stuff I printed. And then mini, like really mini little file folders. Again, that blank page could be printed on the back of this paper, and then you would have double-sided, or you could glue them in half. They're meant to fold in half, and they will be quite small, but they would be really fun to use in a journal. And then some labels, because we all need labels. Some little mini envelopes. One, you can cut this window out and then put something inside of it that would show good reason for the book stacks. And then one with an image on it. A couple more whale tail. And then a large envelope with a couple of whale tails. And, oh, the background paper, because you need to see that twice. And then some pocketed tags. So these pockets will fit over top of the tags. The little gusset on the edge should go around the back of the tag and glue on it, or you can cut these off, or you can fold it and glue those on top. A couple of little tiny mini tags that could go inside the pocket, or just use them separately somewhere else, and more whale tail tabs. Because, so this is kit 1. So 10 pages and 10 of ephemera. And that will be priced separately, available on Ko-fi. I've called it Bookish Kit, and you'll be able to tell because the image on the front will have these on it. So that's kind of where I started. But fall, reading, I've been watching a lot of BookTube in the last little while. So I created you a book journal, a book tracker journal. And it's folded in half because I needed to test it in my head and make sure that it would work the way that I wanted. So my thinking is, this is your front page. And I kind of put it together as if your pages are going to open. But I'll lay it flat, and then I'll show you kind of how it would go together. So book tracker is backed with a book review, because if you're making a journal and you're folding your page in half, this would be your front page and this would be your back page of your signature. If you've never made a journal, a signature is just a grouping of pages. And when you put that grouping of pages together, it creates what's called a signature. If you've done journaling, you know what this is, but this is a signature. It's just a bunch of papers together. You sew these together and you wind up with a journal. My thought was all of these together would make a one signature journal, but you can alternate and kind of stuff it the way that you want to create more signatures in your journal. So if you printed it back to back, you would have the book tracker as page 1, open it up, and then you would have favorite books as your second page. But again, when you shut it, this page, which is back to this one, is not going to be, like, it would be a different page. So I did a book review page that would be at the back of that set of papers. For anybody that knows what a journal is, my apologies for going a little slow, but I'm hoping this will appeal to a little bit larger group of people. So people who don't do what some of us term junk journaling, but I guess is just making handmade books. So this is the 50 book challenge. I reprinted this page because it printed a little bit wrong. So this would fold better on the one that's in the kit. So there's 50 book covers on this, and as you read a book, you could color those in different colors. You can put a start date and an end date. And then on the second side of that is another of the book review pages. So that would be, so basically if they're back to back, you would have book review and book review. Then the next one is a reading tracker with how much you've read per month. So January to December. And then it's got 31 days because some months have 31 days. If you are in a shorter month, you wouldn't fill that out. And then you can choose a color key for like how many hours you're reading during a day, and then just like fill in for hours and months. And then again, for this one, what I did is a reading summary. So you can put start date, end date, title of the book, author of the book, and how many stars you gave it overall, and then write out a little bit of a summary of what the book was about. There's also room, there are little lines here, but you could put a book cover over here if you wanted to. There's room that you could definitely do that. So then the next one is a book wish list, which of course we all have. Book name and author. I didn't put anywhere on this one for date purchased because I did another page later on with books hauled where you can write down name of the book, author, and date you purchased it, and a price if you wanted to. So on the back of this one is another of the reading summary pages with the same information, start, end, etc., etc. So then books hauled would be, you know what? That should have had the author name. But it's got a date, a title, and a price. I may change this page, which would give you a little bit less room with the author name. Yeah. And then books destashed. I don't know, like, I don't necessarily track the author's name when I haul a book. I'm more looking at when I do my spreadsheets. I keep a book spreadsheet for books I've read, and on hauled books I don't necessarily. I'll have to look at that again. I might have the title on there, and then another reading summary on the opposite side of that, for when you like fold it in half like so. This looks super thick, but my thought is that you would print your pages back to back. And then this one is books destashed, so any books that you unhaul. And on the books destashed, on the back side of that is a reading log, where you can put date, author, title, number of pages of the book, and the stars that you gave it. Again, some of this is not a lot of room, but that's because your pages are not huge. To be read books. I think we all have a stash of to be read books. So on this one, I just put title and author. I didn't put anything about whether it's a physical book, whether you got it off NetGalley, whether you borrowed it from the library. If it's, I think I said physical. So for me, my to be read pile includes books that are physical books within my stash. They would be books on Everand. They would be books from Kindle, be it Kindle Unlimited or Reading Prime, or and then my NetGalley books. So if I was going to track my to be read books, NetGalley books are at the top of my list, because NetGalley books almost always have an end date, so that's how I track my TBR books. And then another reading log on the opposite side of that, so that when it's folded in half and opened up, that's how that would work. Then a series tracker for those that read books in series. I kind of went off series a while back. I do read series, but I don't necessarily, but this would be more of a generic one, where you could track the series name, the author of the series, the genre the series is in, any comments either overall about the series or individual books. You could print off multiple of these and have one for each book in the series or one for each series. You could use the star rating for an overall rating of the series. You could use it as an individual, but you've also got a list down here where you can put the title name of the book within the series, the date you started it, the date you ended it, and the rating of that single book, and then a room for a series summary, which I think is a good thing. And then on the back of that, another series summary. And then I did 2 reading log pages, one with a little book and one without a little book, because the one with the little book gives you a tiny bit less room to write information down. So I thought it would be nice to have the option of the full reading log or a partial reading log. So one of the reasons I did the series tracker like this is this could go in the center, or your series tracker could go in the center, and your reading log multiple pages. If you're like I am, your reading log could be the primary amount of your reading journal, because that's where you're tracking what you read. You also have the opportunity to print out multiple of these book review pages, and the book review pages have information where you can put the book title, the author of the book, the genre of the book, your feelings about the book. And then what I did is I use a 5-star rating. Like because that's what Goodreads gives you, is 5 stars. They don't give you more than that. But for me, I often rate partial stars, because some books don't make it to a full star level. So, they're not a full 5 star, for example. So what I did, I would say for me, if I'm rating a book a 5 star, it's got to knock my socks off. It's got to be basically flawless. The world building has to be absolutely intense. The characterization has to be intense. I don't know that I necessarily use themes as part of my rating system, but I know that themes can be really important. I think I'm more, I don't know how to say it, like to me, a theme is kind of part of the world building and the characterization and the plot. So I can't really pull the theme away from the way the characters work, or the theme away from the world building. If the world building doesn't work, to me the theme doesn't work. If the characterization doesn't work, how can I say the theme worked? Because you didn't pull off the characters well enough to make the theme work. So that's how my mind works. But knock your socks off would basically be a 5 star rating or higher, because some books are higher than a 5 star rating, but Goodreads only lets you go 5 star, but some books are just better than that. Really good would be a 4 star rating for me. That would be a book that misses something in either characterization, world building, or the plot. Usually it's characterization. Almost always, if I say it's really good and didn't blow me away, it's something in the characterization that didn't work. It was okay. That's going to be usually like somewhere between, well, usually it's a 3 star. Like, it was okay. It was, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just like middle of the road. I might tell somebody, hey, you should read this book, but I probably won't. And 6 months from now, I'll forget I even read it, or I'll forget what the plot was about. I'll forget who the characters were. But it was okay when I read it. A lot of thriller fiction falls into it was okay for me. Quite a bit of genre fiction falls into it was okay for me, because it doesn't blow me away. It's not really good. It's not knock my socks off, but it's not really bad. I didn't like it. Would usually be a 2 star, might be a 1 star. It's got holes in it. It's like, yeah. And usually I'll start off, it will be okay, and as I go along, I'll go, oh my gosh, this is getting worse and worse and worse. And then I'll just say, oh man, I don't like this book. I wish I hadn't read it. That would be a 1 star or lower. And it will be like, oh my gosh, why did I waste my time on this? This is not necessarily a DNF. That's a DNF where it says I could not finish. If I can't finish a book, it will not get a rating on Goodreads. Which is kind of, that's really difficult if I'm rating for a NetGalley book, because with NetGalley, I feel like I need to give some kind of rating, some kind of star. I'll sometimes give a NetGalley a 1 star rating, even with a DNF. And then I'll put a caveat in my Goodreads review so that people understand why why I DNF'd it. I DNF very, very, very few books, even if they're unbelievably boring and I wish I hadn't read it. I will usually not DNF a book unless it has to be full on abysmal for me to DNF it. I think in my, I've been reading since I was like 3 or 4. I'm 64 years old, so I've been reading for 60 years. And I think in my entire reading life, I've maybe DNF'd 4 books. It's kind of like this, like when you start to eat and you feel like you have to finish your meal, even if you don't want to. It's kind of that kind of thing. This book made me cry. Can be because it knocked my socks off. It can be because, oh my gosh, I wish I hadn't read it because it's like so dismal and it made me cry because I read it. But normally I would say a book made me cry. These are apart from my rating system. If you can pull emotion out of me, this is normally going to hit the knock your socks off. But it won't always. Sometimes it will only be really good, even if it pulled that kind of deep emotion out of me. And then I put in a so boring, because sometimes it was okay would also be so boring. Sometimes I didn't like it would also be boring. Rarely will a really good or a knock your, never will a really good or a knock your socks book be boring. But I put a place where you can put a book summary, best moments, worst moments, and if you're into putting quotes, you can put favorite quotes there. And so just to go over from, like, if you were looking at the pages flat, this one is black and white because I think it would be fun to color in the books as you read them. I haven't counted how many books are on there, but there's lots and lots. You can go to town, you can print, like, color in your globe, you can, like, color in your plant. You've got some fun little steampunk elements that you could color in, or leave them blank and only color in your, like, book covers as you read them. So that would be one page, like so. So you got a book tracker and a book review. And then I know I'm going into this one a lot more, but I'm pretty excited by this one. You have favorite books, so you can put, like, what you read in January. Like, there's 12 months in there. There are little stars under that. I don't know, like, maybe you, like, rate your overall, like, maybe January you read 4 books, averaged out the books you read in January, averaged to a 3-star, so you could put, like, you had a 3-star reading month. That's kind of how I would use that. Then your book summary, which I kind of went over ad nauseum. Another book review and a 50-book challenge. You could use this for as long as you want. Start date could be like today, end date could be a year from now, it could be 6 months from now, whenever you read 50 books. I tend to read about 60 books in a year, so that's definitely not going to do me a year. Yearly reading tracker and a reading summary. Reading summary and then your book wish list. And I might, yeah, I will switch this out. I'm going to put one more column in there so that you can put, oh no, book name and author. No, I think that's good. That's all you need, book name and author. Book called, reading summary. And if you're using your book wish list and your book is on here and you put it on here, you're going to know who your author is, so. Although, if you're like I am, your book wish list over here does not wind up being your book hauled. Because you go to a thrift store and you're going in there and you look and you say, oh, look, it's got a book by, and then you buy it. Books destashed, and again, another reading log. TBR books with another reading log. And let's give you the other reading log. So there, I did lots of reading logs. Plain reading log, and then a reading log with little books in the corner, and then a series tracker. So these will both be up on Ko-fi momentarily, and I'm so excited, especially by this one. And I will do some freebies in the next few days, because I'd like to do some background pages, and the background pages could be used with either this kit or the Bookish kit, this one. And then I want to do some like readers, people with books that are reading, and they will be full on steampunk. And I didn't put them in this kit because I don't think everybody wants the people in a kit. So I'm going to do them as a freebie so that if you want them, you can get them. If you're not interested in them, you would have other things within the freebie that you could use, and then just not use the people if you're not interested and you haven't spent money on something that you're not interested in. I hope you enjoy either or both of the kits, and until next time, have a lovely crafty day. Bye.